Hi everyone, and welcome to Fridays with Fenning. For those that know me, I have 3 grown-up children, Sam, Alice and Rachel, and I'm incredibly proud of them. You know, their character, their outlook on life, our relationship, and what they've achieved in life so far. You know, I left school at 16 with 5 CSEs and my 25-metre swimming certificate. They have all been to university, 2 of them getting a 2-1 and Rachel getting a first-class honours degree. Now, who would have thought that? But the journey there was tough, especially for Sam, our oldest. You know, Sarah and I would go to parents' evenings at school and we'd approach it very differently. I always wanted to know if the kids were happy, whether they had friends and whether they worked a bit. Whereas Sarah viewed the educational side of things much differently, and she wanted to know what they were learning and how she could support. And that's primarily because Sarah's a teacher and a very good parent, so this is kind of unsurprising. But I would come away from parents' evenings usually very happy, and Sarah would worry about the kids' learning. But the most memorable parents' evening was when Sam was in 6th form. We turned up to meet with one of his teachers who revealed that Sam and some of his friends had decided that for their mock A-level exams, they would do 0 revision just to see how they got on. Now, unsurprisingly, Sam and his friends all failed the exam and the teacher was not impressed, and neither were we. In fact, neither was Sam a few months later when he needed certain grades to get into his first choice of uni and he fell short. It was an awful day of waiting until he heard that the uni accepted him despite his low grades. It was a wake-up call for Sam, and he's such a hard worker now. You know, whatever he puts his mind to, he works at with energy and diligence. Now, I say this because there's a problem when laziness or inactivity and idleness sets in, because it always leads somewhere. Laziness leads to drift and neglect, which in turn leads to brokenness and decay. That's why the old-fashioned word sloth or idleness made the early church fathers list of the 7 deadly sins. Now, sloth's really a word that we only use for that slow-moving tropical American animal. You know, it's got its name through being very still for most of the day, appearing asleep, hanging upside down. And it can move, but it does so very slowly. And actually, it's all more to do with self-defense than laziness, because its fur grows algae to help camouflage it so that it looks like vegetation. But it is the picture of idleness. But why is sloth or laziness deemed as a deadly sin? Well, it's because it's a waste of time, a waste of life and potential, and it goes against God's character and because of what it can lead to. I mean, have a listen to these proverbs. Those too lazy to plough in the right season will have no food at harvest. In other words, being lazy now leads to a negative outcome further down the road. A second one, lazy people irritate their employers like vinegar to the teeth and smoke in the eyes. So laziness always affects other people and impacts their lives negatively. Thirdly, lazy leads to a sagging roof, and idleness leads to a leaky house. So laziness always leads to things getting worse, not better. And that's a fact in life. Everything, when it's left to itself, has a tendency to deteriorate. We see it all the time. You know, it's true in fitness. A natural atrophy takes place when we let it drift. When I stop bothering, I seize up, I become inflexible. I struggle to get my socks on in the morning. I put on weight. Well, you know the deal. It's the same with the garden, isn't it? Our garden, when left to itself, has the tendency to deteriorate very quickly. In Proverbs 24, the author writes these words, "I went past the field of a sluggard," that's a lazy person, "past the vineyard of a man who lacks judgment. Thorns had come up everywhere, the ground was covered with weeds, and the stone wall was in ruins. And I applied my heart to what I observed, and I learnt a lesson from what I saw." In other words, there's a natural atrophy that takes place in life that, if not worked on, if things are not given the right attention. It's true in a marriage, in our finances, in our character, in our walk with God. I mean, how often is it said, "I hadn't really noticed how bad it had got until I found her note saying she was leaving for another man"? Or the bank blocked the use of my credit card and threatened to take court action against me. Or I found myself losing my temper over and over again. Or I came to pray and I realised that I hadn't actually spoken to God for months. So what's the antidote to sloth, to laziness? Well, the writer in the book of Proverbs puts it this way. He says, go to the ant, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and it gathers its food at harvest. So in other words, the ant, first of all, takes responsibility and it doesn't require external motivation. The ant knows that if you're waiting around for someone else to get your life in order, whether that's your boss, your parent, your spouse, your counsellor, whether it's friends or church leaders, you are in serious trouble. Ants understand that. They just work hard at doing whatever they should be doing. Now, of course, I need to be accountable to others, to be shaped by people and circumstances, but ultimately, I am responsible for my life, for my reactions, my character, and my choices. Secondly, the ant understands about time and opportunity because it stores and gathers in summer and at harvest. Now, I remember walking across the fields from my house in Mendlesham to Elm Farm, where my parents live in Wickham, when Sam and Alice were really young, and Rachel. And we'd walk and we'd talk and we'd sing and we'd tell stories. And my Auntie Jill once said, she says, Steve, make the most of this because not many dads get the chance like this. And I grabbed the moment. But you know, that season has gone. The kids have grown up, they've moved out. And I need to make the most of a different kind of relationship with those children now, with my children now. You know, if you have younger kids, be proactive. Don't miss the opportunities of fun and time with them because time goes so quickly and it can be so worth it in the long run. You know, we all have one vineyard, one life to live to the max. And Proverbs warns us against being the sluggard, about being lazy and neglecting what needs to be worked at. A number of years ago, Robbie Williams wrote these words in a song called Make Me Pure. And he says this, I don't have to try, I just dial it in. I've never found a job that for me was worth bothering. I got a ton of selfish genes and lazy bones beneath this skin. Oh Lord, make me pure, but not yet. That's a very honest but sad lyric because we understand that life won't improve with that attitude. So my question to you this weekend is this. What matters to you that you mustn't let drift? Where do you need to be proactive, invest energy and time? Because things don't stand still, they will decay. So maybe it's your marriage or key relationship and you recognise that the drift has already begun because you've neglected quality time together. Then sort it out. Sort out a date night, talk about it together and make some changes in order to invest energy and life back into your relationship. Get help if needed, but don't let your relationship die through neglect. Maybe your attitude to work has been drifting, and this is a prompt to reorientate your attitude and decide to bring your best rather than just do the minimum. You know, Rachel, my youngest, was made redundant during lockdown and she created a website called Why Choose Rach. She made a video and sent it to loads of companies and her proactiveness resulted in a company that wasn't hiring, creating a role for her where she's been working ever since. Maybe it's your finances or your health or your fitness that you need to be proactive about. Maybe it's around your spiritual life, that at one time you were growing in faith, you were part of a vibrant community and yet you've let it slip, you've not bothered and you've let it go and the natural drift has occurred. And maybe this is a prompt for you to take action, to go a step further than just watching a vlog like this and look to rekindle your faith. And if I can help you with this, please do get in touch. Hey, thanks again for watching so much. I love it that you do. And I hope that you will have a very proactive and positive bank holiday weekend. Thanks again. Take care.